Public Safety Committee. Commissioner Reed, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just told I'm on the clock. And I have been on the clock for a good while. Actually, I started on this back in December, Commissioners. And if any of you have been to some of the commission meetings or committee meetings I've been to and where we've worked on this, you understand the trail that this all started from and where I began with this effort. And along that trail, I've run into a lot of interesting people, a lot of interesting stories, and you've heard some of those tonight here as we've gone through this, and their effort and what they're attempting to do and where they're trying to go and what they're wanting other people to understand. Why they're doing this and why I'm doing this and what we're looking for. Just this evening, I had an individual from this group that you see here tonight. And first of all, let me say I appreciate each and every one of you coming out tonight. They've been hard at work. They've been standing out in the rain, getting signatures on these petitions. They've talked to a lot of people, and they've done it in a very polite and proper way. The thing I've been impressed with is the fact that we've had actual petitions hand-signed by individuals from Rutherford County citizens. Their names are on it. They know who they are. They're their neighbors. They're people who are interested in this, and they have a goal to accomplish. But tonight I was sitting right back here, and a gentleman walks up to me. Mr. Louie is sitting right back here, I believe, aren't you, Mr. Louie? Mr. Louie comes to us from another state. As soon as he walked up, I made the statement. I said, "You're not from here, are you?" He's from New York. Mr. Louie was in New York when 9/11 happened. And he told me his story. His wife has 9/11 asthma, if I'm correct. But they've moved here to Tennessee. And he was telling me how proud he is to be in Tennessee. Because they left New York because of some of the things that why we are proposing this resolution of things that in the law up there has been taken away from them. And I was just so impressed with his story, an individual that was there, and something we all ask once a year, do you remember where you were when that happened? You don't have to ask Mr. Louie that. He knows where he was that day when that happened. But the resolution I'm going to bring to you tonight started with me when I started reading some of the things that's going on within this country and some of the things that are happening in our sister states and some of the things that are actually discussed in our own state legislature. But when I was told, you don't have to worry about it, it'll never happen here. You don't have to worry about it. This will never happen here. I don't like the word never. I've had too many things in my life happen that I thought, that'll never happen. That'll never happen again. And today, as I was getting ready to make this reading of this resolution before you and this request, I just so happened had someone send something to me, not even thinking about that I was going to make this presentation to you. But he was just talking about, he knew my love of history and the way things happen. And you know, you always have heard that if you don't study history, you're subject to repeat it. And he sent me a lot of information on the past wars. I have sitting over here at my desk a picture of my grandfather that was made out here on these steps on the south side of this building, not on these steps, but what was here before we built an addition. He left for World War I right out there, and he ended up in the Oregon forest. And he left from there when armistice was signed. That's when he got to leave. In fact, he went to the ship to come home after being there during World War I. And the first sergeant was standing on the ship and put his hand on his chest and said, "Stop right here." Said, "You'll have to wait for the next ship." The next ship comes 6 months later. That's the family I come from. He was later to become a squire in this very courtroom. That's one reason I'm here tonight. But what come from what I was sent today come from a poem that was written by Martin Niemer. Martin Niemer was a German Lutheran pastor. And I don't know if you've ever heard this poem, but he was there when the Nazis took over. And he was disappointed in himself of what he had to deal with at that time. And his poem says, "First they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me." I think that's what the individuals that have come here tonight is that they are speaking out before anything like this happens within our own country. And tonight, I'm reading this resolution speaking out for them. So the resolution I wish to present this time, and this is the third time that we presented it, one to public safety, and then the other time to our steering. A resolution of the Rutherford County Commission reaffirming its support of the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. Whereas on October the 25th, 1803, the Tennessee legislature authorized the county of Rutherford to become the 24th county to be established in Tennessee with a county government to operate under the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the great state of Tennessee. And whereas in their wisdom, our founders, when creating those documents, unanimously recommended constitutions that maintain an inalienable right to keep and bear arms, and have been further upheld by subsequent decisions by the U.S. Supreme Court. And whereas the right, as originally written and understood, to keep and bear arms for self-defense, personal safety, protection of one's family, and defense of one's community and county. And whereas the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, ratified on December the 15th, 1791, as part of the Bill of Rights, so states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And whereas it is the desire of the Rutherford County Commission to declare its reaffirmation and support of the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and to protect the inalienable right to keep and bear arms as it relates to the citizens of our county. And whereas each county commissioner upon election took an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution and the state of Tennessee Constitution. And whereas Rutherford County has been blessed by state legislatures and governors that have continually upheld the Second Amendment, protecting our law-abiding citizens, the inalienable rights to keep and bear arms. As a county commission, we still ask for their continued support and efforts in protecting those rights. And whereas, as recorded in other counties within our state, the term sanctuary county should not be considered to confirm making Rutherford County a safe haven for criminals, but rather a safe haven to protect good, law-abiding citizens from unconstitutional laws that infringe on one's liberty, freedoms without due process. Now therefore be it resolved that the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners hereby has reaffirmed its support of the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution and declare Rutherford County to be a Second Amendment sanctuary county. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect from and after the date of its approval before the full County Commission. Resolved this 13th day of February 2020, Rutherford County, Tennessee. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion, and I have a second. Many seconds. Any questions? Without objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries.